In this presentation, we will continue on adding more bank rules as we go through the rest of our bank transactions. Here we go with Xero. Here we are in our Triple G company dashboard. We're going to be opening up our financial statements, going to the accounting dropdown, opening up that balance sheet. Once that balance sheet then opens up, we're going to duplicate the tab by going to the tab up top, right-clicking on that tab, duplicating that tab. We'll do the same for the income statement, going to the tab to the left, going to the accounting drop-down, picking up the income statement, so we will open then up the income statement. We will duplicate that tab, going to the tab up top, right-clicking on it, and duplicate that tab. Going back to the balance sheet, we'll then check the dates out, so I'm going to go back on over to the balance sheet. We're going to pick up this date for May, because that's the time period we're going to be working in on. So this is going to be for the end of May. I'm going to update that. Then we're going to go to the income statement. I'm just going to change the beginning date for May 1st. So we're going to say this is going to be May 1st and update that. Then we're going to go back to the first tab and we're going to be opening up our bank accounts. Let's open up the old bank accounts here. We're going to be working with, of course, the bank feeds. We want to just upload the rest or reconcile the rest of these 18 items and just kind of consider best practices as we go through this. Now, we've seen before when we entered 2 months of data, the suggested kind of rules that would happen. I would suggest that anytime you can make a bank rule, it might be worth the time to put in the actual bank rule, because those are things that are more concrete. You've actually thought about them. You've thought them through, and you can basically work with somebody else. I think it would be safer to work with somebody else and say, hey, look, just do the bank rules. So as I've said a few times. So I'm going to go through here and just kind of set up rules as we go. If we have interest payment, this is income that we got. So I'm going to set up a rule. I'm going to just say this is how easy it is to set up just kind of the general rules. These are kind of items that the system would probably pick up as suggestions, but I'm going to say, like, I'm going to make this a rule. Typically, I'd say any to make it a broader rule. I'm going to remove the first condition. I'm going to say it doesn't really need to equal the whole thing. I'm just going to say it contains an interest payment. In this case, that's going to be the description. And then the vendor or the contact, in this case, is probably the bank. So it'll probably be Chase as the contact. And then the description, I'm going to say this is interest. And the account, let's see if we have an income account for interest. It should be some kind of revenue. Let's just put it into other income. I'm going to say other income. And there we have that. That looks good. That looks good. It's going to be the name. Let's call it interest payment. Let's call it interest income. Something like that as the rule. And I'm going to save that. So there is that one. If we apply that out, then it should apply this out. This is money that was received, and that should be applied out every time we go. So again, the system would probably have picked that up in the second month, but it would be better if we apply the rule, and then we're more concrete that we've actually thought about it, and we can go back and adjust the rule later. This is Verizon, so we have the phone company, so let's set up a rule for that. This is one where clearly the system would probably be picking this one up from time to time as a suggestion, but I'd rather set up a rule and say, okay, I'm going to have another rule. I'm going to make it any, I'm in this money spent rule. It's going to be any components contains something of it. I probably don't need the whole thing. If it contains Verizon, that's probably enough. The vendor that it's going to be going to. Now, be careful on the vendors because you don't want to set up too many, multiple vendors. So I'm going to, make sure that you could easily set up a whole lot of vendors. And I probably have done that a few times here. Set up multiple vendors for the same one. You don't really want to do that. You want to keep the vendors as clean as possible. So if you have an existing vendor, keep it to the same vendor. This description, I could put telephone and the account telephone. And there's that one. And then we could put Verizon telephone as the name. All right, let's save that one and apply that one out. And notice once these take effect, how much easier, how much faster than this will be going forward. And the fact that the rules, rather than suggestions, giving us a bit more security about them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And then I have American Express. Notice this one is kind of like a credit card payment. And notice the other side, the credit card payment we have on the bank feeds. So this is one of those kind of situations where I might say, all right, I could put the other side of this to the credit card because that's where the other side is going. But the other side on the bank feeds will come through on the credit card side and the bank feeds as well, which we could match them if we do that. But if there's these intercompany or these intercard transactions, the two sides having the bank feeds and the other side going to another account that has a bank feed, then maybe you want to set up, I would set up a clearing account to like kind of get used to the practice. And so they'll wash out. So you'll recall with the credit card last time, we put the other side to the credit card clearing account. So I'm going to do that here. Now I'm on the bank statement side. We're paying off the credit card, in this case, the 500. I'm going to put it to that clearing account. So I'm going to set up a rule and say every time you pay the credit card, American Express, out of the checking account, we're going to put it into that clearing account, which is going to match up against every time we see it on the other side, on the credit card side, and it'll bring it back down to 0. So I'm going to say any condition, remove this again. I want it to contain American Express. I don't really need this. And then that's going to be our name. And then it's going to be to the contact of American Express. Do we have American Express in there already? We do. So I should be picking that up. I'm probably making multiple contacts, which isn't good. But I'm going to go down here and say this is going to be American Express. The account is going to be the credit card clearing. So that's the one we set up when we did the credit cards. It's going to be the credit card clearing account, which will match out against the other side, which will be on the credit card. When the bank feeds clear on this credit card side, we'll take that to the credit card clearing account as well. And after they both cleared, the credit card clearing account will then go back down to 0. So it's kind of like a checking account between the two of them. So then we have the reference. This is the same. This is the same. American Express credit card clearing. Let's keep it at that, and then I'll save that one. And we'll apply that rule out. So there it is. And so there it is. So I'm going to say, okay, it's applying that rule. So I'm going to say, okay, that looks good. The Verizon, here's another Verizon, and it's applying the rule. So now it's getting easier for us to do it. I still like to be able to check these off. So it's nice that I see the rule. I still like to check them off rather than have them kind of like automatically go into the system. So I still always would rather go in here and just say, yeah, I'd like to just kind of at least check it off. So at least I glanced at it, And then we have a reoccurring transfer. This is going to be a transfer from this account to say another account, say like a savings type of account. So say this is going to happen. This is going to be a reoccurring transfer. Now, if you were to have something like this, again, if you had the other side of the account, another like a savings account that also had bank feeds, then you're going to have that same kind of intercompany transaction, and you might want to put that through like a clearing account. We don't have any other savings accounts set up here, so this is just a example. So I'll put this to basically a clearing account in a similar fashion as if we were doing two bank feeds the same way with the credit card. So I'm just going to say, I want to say any on this again. So same kind of process. I'm going to remove this. And it says description. It's a recurring transfer. So that's good. And to the contact, there really isn't a contact, but I don't think it'll let me put something in without one. So I'm just going to say like miscellaneous on the contact. And then I'm going to say this is a transfer. And then I'm going to put this into an asset account, which is, I'm just going to say is like a clearing account because it's really going into another, it would be going into another checking account. And again, if the other checking account was set up, we would have bank feeds for it. So I'm going to say the two sides will show up on two different sides of the bank feeds, and I want them both going to a clearing account here. So I'm going to call it 1150. Let's say 1150. Here, we're going to scan the code, and I'm going to say this is going to be we could set it up as an asset account, but I'm going to put it into a current, like a bank account, but I'm going to put it into a current asset account, and this is going to be the a bank clearing account. And I put an S on it, but that's okay. I'm going to save that, and that looks good. And I'm going to call it a transfer. So that's going to be a reoccurring transfer. So I'm going to save that. And then it should apply that rule every time we see that transaction. So that'll be nice. And I'm going to say that's great. Every time that shows up, we've got the transfer rule. So I'm going to say okay. Now here's a PayPal payment. So if you deal with PayPal, note that you may be able to get the bank feeds from PayPal and see the transactions from PayPal as well. Here we're seeing the amount that's going into our checking account from PayPal. So notice again, if you had it set up to PayPal and you had the bank transfers from PayPal, you would have the amounts coming out of PayPal, that checking account, or that account, bank account basically, would have a decrease. And then if you show it coming in on this side, then you would have it coming in on this side on the bank feeds, and the other side would be going to PayPal. So again, that's an intercompany transaction. If you had two sides having bank feeds, you'll see it on both sides of the bank feeds. You could set up a clearing account basically for a PayPal clearing. Or if you don't have PayPal set up, and let's say that all your PayPal income comes from one source and then you just bring it in every time you get it, then maybe you just take it to an income account when you receive it. So let's put it to an income account for this side. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to make it an income account. Again, if you use PayPal, a lot of transactions within PayPal, then you probably want to set up the feeds or get that information, get the detailed information. If you just use it to collect some fixed money from one source, then you might just want to wait till you transfer it into your bank account, and then you can just record it from that source. So I'm going to say I'm going to remove this again. I'm going to say any, and I'm going to say this is going to be a PayPal. I really just need PayPal, let's say. And I'm going to copy that, and then it's going to be from the vendor. Now again, you could put PayPal as the vendor, or you might want to put up the vendor who's paying you through PayPal, right? and if you're going to set this up as an income account. So then I'm going to say down here, this is going to be a description for the PayPal. And then I might set up another income account down here. It might be sales. So let's make it 4110. Should be 4 numbers there. So 4110, and then I'm going to call it PayPal income. And again, you probably want to name the account for whatever type of income it is based on who's paying you through PayPal. And then this one, I'm going to call it sales, and just set that up so we can just set up a rule for it. I'm going to say that we don't have any sales tax on it, so no sales tax. And there it is, checking account, PayPal. All right, let's save that one. That's going to be going to the income account now. And again, I'm assuming that we're not tracking the PayPal information in here. We're just saying that PayPal's coming into the bank account, and then I'm going to record the income at that point in time that we receive it. So that is that one. It didn't pick it up for some reason. So I'm going to go back up to my rules up top, and I'm going to go to the bank rules and see if we can figure out why this didn't get picked up. So this should be receive money. This is a receive money rule. So you can see all the rules that we have in place. And this is the PayPal rule. So we're going to go into PayPal. And so we have PayPal. So I said equals. So what I want to do is I want to say contains. So I had it too strict, and then I removed some of the, so I think that'll fix it. So let's save that. Totally did that on purpose so we can demonstrate, those two settings. And now let's see if it picks it up. So we're going to go on down here and say, is it going to pick it up now? Is it going to pick it up? It is. It will pick it up. So there it is. We've got that one. The next one we have Audible. So this is income from Audible, which we might want to put into another income account. So if we made Audible books, and now Audible owner is owned by Amazon, and they're paying us for books that we made into Audible books. And so we're going to say, all right, any, and then remove that, and then I want it to contain, and I just really need Audible. That's good enough. If it's got Audible in it, then you're going to go there. Now note that if you had a payment it's a receive money, so it's not going to get mixed up with the money going out if you paid Audible, for example, because this is the money going in rule. So it should be okay. So then we're going to say this is going to be Audible as the customer. We don't have them yet, so that's good. And this is going to be Audible. And then the account, we might want a separate account for Audible revenue. So let's make it 41115. 4115. So I know I'm messing up these account numbers. Sorry about that. But we're going to say 4115, and this is going to be the account type, an income account this time. It should be an income account. So I'll make it sales. We're going to make it audible income, and then save that. So there we have it. It's coming out of the, and then there's no sales tax on it, so I'm not going to have any sales tax. That looks good. Audible, and we'll make it an income. I'll say audible income rule. All right. We'll save that one, and that should apply out. So let's check it out. Check it out. See if it applies out. So there it is. So that's going in. So that's good. And now the next one, we have a check here. Now notice that the check might not give you as much detail. So the check might not give you all the information. You might have to go to your bank account and look at the canceled check to see who you wrote the check to figure that out. So it might not be able to make basically a rule based on the check because you don't know, you'll have to actually see the check, who you wrote the check for. Now, if you put the check in the system when you wrote the check, then it should match out and you'll be okay. It'll have a match feature here. But if you write checks and wait till they cleared, then they're going to be a little bit more difficult possibly than the electronic transfers because typically you won't have the description and all that information in your system. So typically when you write checks, you'd kind of like to put those in place when you actually write the check, put it in and then it would match out here. So we're going to say, let's just say that, I'm just going to say we're going to write a check for sales tax. Say we paid it out of the state for sales tax. Now, when we recorded our income, note we recorded our income as we're imagining we recorded our income that included the sales tax. Now, when we pay it, we would basically be pulling that out of the sales line if that was how we were doing it. I'm going to make another account then, which is going to be a contra revenue account for the sales tax, just to show that here. So I'm going to say it's going to be a sales or revenue type of item. And so here's our sales, and I'm going to say the merchandise sales we included the full amount plus the sales tax. Now we're going to pull out the sales tax amount. I'm going to do that in another account. So I'm going to call it 4202. I'm going to say 4202. So I'm going to add it, and I have to go to the add details in order to add it. So I'm going to be down here, and I'm going to say that this is going to go to account, new account. I'm going to go back up and add a new account, and it's going to be 4202. And then the account type is going to be a sales account. So it's going to be like a contra sales account. It's going to be a sales account with a negative balance in it. And then I'm going to say sales tax, and I'll save that. So I'll show you what that kind of looks like when we get there. So error, please enter a unique name, sales tax contra account. All right, and then we're going to save that. So I won't get into a lot of detail with it. We're just making the bank rules here. So I'm going to save that. And there we have it. Now, I think it applies. No, that's good. Let's save that. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And then we have the Google. So Google Ads. So like, let's say we have AdSense revenue, like a YouTube channel or something like that. Then we might want to set up another revenue account. And if you have like media accounts, that might be kind of where you want to deviate from the general rule of having all your stuff into one revenue account on the income statement and then breaking it out by basically your customers somewhere else. If you're doing different things, like you're getting money from Google or something, and you're getting money from Amazon, then maybe you want to break those out on the income statement as separate revenue line items actually on the income statement. So I'll show that here. I'm going to say create bank rule, and we're going to say we got another revenue account. So I'm going to say this is for, we don't need all. I'm going to say any. And then I'm going to remove the first component, and then I can just say Google AdSense. Okay. So I just needed to contain that. And then I'm going to set that up as another contact. And then it's going to be description, Google AdSense, the account. I'm going to set up another account. So I'm going to call it, let's just call it 4120. So I'm going to set it up for 4120. I'm going to go to new account and make it 4120, and we'll say that this is going to be a sales type of account. Name is just going to be Google AdSense. I'm going to save that, and then this is good out of the checking account. This looks good down here. I don't need sales tax. I'm going to remove the sales tax. So there we have it, and let's say save on that one. And then that one should give us our rule up top. So we've got the Google AdSense should be applied out. There it is. All right, so we have that. And then we have like a deposit. Now here's a mobile deposit. Let's just assume that you basically, scanned a check or something into your bank account. Then again, you might not have any detail to match up what that deposit was from. So now you got to basically think about, you can go back in and possibly look at your bank transactions to see the scanned check, and then get the detail and see what the deposit was for. So let's go ahead and just add something here for it. So I'm just going to call it some kind of revenue. I'm going to say I'm just going to set up, a new customer, and then the account, it's going to be some kind of revenue account because it increased. So I'm going to put it into a revenue type of account. I'll just put it into sales. And so I'm going to add that. And no rule there. We couldn't really do a rule, so we just added. This is another reoccurring transfer, so it's applying that transfer rule. So now we're into the nice spot where we can basically add that. No problem. Verizon phone bill, it's now applying the rule. Great. Add that. This is Audible, so that's income. It's applying the rule. Great. Add that. And then again, we have a mobile deposit. We can't really apply a rule to that. We have to look at where the deposit was and what it's for. If we're assuming it's income, then again, we could look at the check, and maybe I don't even know the check. Maybe I'm just going to say all deposits are income, right? That are going to be mobile deposits. I just assume that those are income unless I put the money in there. So maybe I say the vendor is even miscellaneous, and I'm going to say this is going to sales. Just say sales. All right. Okay. And then I'm going to say add that. And then this one, American Express. Again, that's going to that clearing account because we're paying the American Express. The credit card transactions are going to come through on the American Express bank feeds. So I'm going to say okay there. Google AdSense now is applying a rule, so that looks good. The interest is now applying the rule, so okay. And then the American Express, again, we're paying it, so that's going to apply out that rule. Let's check out what happens if I go then to the balance sheet and we update the balance sheet then. We've got the transactions here, so we've got the checking account being affected, of course. And then we have this bank clearing account. So remember, that's going to be the side that we're going to put into the clearing account that was transferred. Those are those $75 amounts. If we had a bank feed for the other side, then once we do the bank feeds on the other side, we would match it out here, and these would then go away, right? It would match out and clear out to zero after bank feeds from both sides of the transaction had been input and populated. Same thing with the credit card clearing account down here. You'll note that if I go into this credit card clearing account, we'll have one side being on the credit card bank feed side, the other side on the bank statement credit card transactions, and they will tie each other out if we had this set up, if we had the same data on both sides. So here it is coming in from the credit card. Here it is on the bank statement side. Now again, these would typically match out if we had this the same banking information on both sides. So the credit card information will be on the credit card and the bank side. Once they're both input, then they'll clear out on these clearing accounts, and that'll avoid us from basically double inputting somewhere when we have those interbank feed type of account transactions. So there we have that. Let's take a look at the income statement. If I update the income statement, then now we have a lot of different income accounts, and this might be what your income statement looks like if you do online type of company stuff, right? You might get paid from Amazon. You might want to break that out. Amazon Prime versus affiliate marketing, Audible. You got possibly Google AdSense. And then again, your PayPal account. You probably want to enter the data within PayPal. Otherwise, if you only have one or two things feeding you through PayPal, then maybe you call this whatever it is that you're getting through PayPal, but you want to probably have the detail within PayPal, which would result in another intercompany kind of transaction. You'll have the bank feeds possibly from PayPal, and then the bank feeds from the bank when you transfer from PayPal to your bank, and you might want another kind of clearing account to have that data. Then any other sales transactions, and then we have the sales tax contra account. Why is this here? Because remember, if you did sell merchandise, the merchandising sales that we saw in the prior period, and we said we sold it for the amount plus the sales tax, then we'd need to back out the sales tax. So this would basically be a way to kind of back out the sales tax. And again, we're on a cash basis. So the sales tax we're backing out here is actually applied to the prior time period, right? It would be applied to the prior time period because that's when we made the sale. So you got that timing difference that would take, that would take place. It would wash out. It would all equal out after the total period was over, but there'd be a timing difference related to it. Then we have the automobile expense we saw last time, the benefits, the office supplies, the telephone we made a rule for, and the utilities had a rule for it, as well as the other income. This is the interest income that came in from the bank. We have a rule for that as well. So you can see that next time when we do this again, most of the transactions we have will have a rule. What will not have a rule? Those deposits that we couldn't see anything other than the amount that was deposited. Can't really make a rule for that. We won't have a rule for checks because the check isn't going to give us the description detail, but we can look up the canceled check and kind of figure that out. So you might want to enter the checks as you actually enter the items into the system. And then anything that we're not able to split, anything that has a vendor that could go to multiple accounts, like a Home Depot that possibly you buy different things there from, or an Amazon where you might buy a bunch of different stuff that might go into different categories. Those are going to be more difficult to create a rule, but you might be able to do it based on, some of these differentiating factors that we set up here. So that's going to be it for now. Let's get out of here.